Many of us like to take an interest in our family tree, in our family history, and I'm one of those people. And it was something of a privilege for me for a period of a few years to live in the East Midlands, right in the area, the local villages clustered around Melton Mowbray, where my Stapleford ancestors came from. And there was a village not far from there, heading towards Nottingham, that I'd had a tip-off a few years ago that there had been once a Stapleford vicar there, whose name appeared on a plaque on the wall. And I thought it would be interesting to go and investigate that. So one day I visited that village and the church, and I can remember parking my car and walking down to the gates at the foot of the churchyard, and as I passed through the gates and I put my hand on the gates, I had a certain feeling, and I could feel, and I consciously registered, yes, some of my ancestors have passed through these gates. I can feel it, I can feel the energy, I can feel the connection. The kith and kin of my forebears have passed through these very gates. And I went on into the church, which was open, and I could see no sign of any evidence of there having been a reverend at that church with my name, Stapleford. So the trail seemed to run cold. And I thought, oh, perhaps I just imagined that feeling at the gates. An ancestor had passed through there. One of my forebears, one of my kith and kin. Perhaps I have an over-fertile imagination. And I picked up the guidebook for the church and had a flip through it and a look round. And then I came to a little piece in the guidebook that made mention of the church gates. And it said that the gates were not original at that church, but had actually come from another church a few years before. A church a few miles away, and it gave the name. And I immediately knew that the church where the gates came from was the church where my great-grandfather Jack married his first wife in 1878, a young wife who sadly died 3 years later from TB. And that must have been a very special day for him and his bride, going to that church that day, passing through the church gates. It must have meant a great deal to him. It must have been very special and remained in his memory. And so an ancestor had indeed passed through the gates, but not in their current location, but at a previous location, a different church a few miles away.